It's like really far behind me. It's kind of interesting. Try to sit side by side, so our heads are both the same size.
Because that's why it is. You know what I mean? Because it's so high.
Okay, guys, people are hearing you, so hold on one second.
All right.
I'll be right with you. All right, and all right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my guests today. I am very excited to have you. I'm just getting my little things together here. And that is Angela DeNiro and Ron Aprea. And I am...
Hi, Kathy.
Hi. And I'm just getting my stuff together here. Because as you guys watching know, I haven't been doing this a lot lately, so really glad that you're kind of limping along with me here. I'm trying to set up my YouTube so that people can watch on YouTube as well. That's what I'm doing.
What?
And so, let's see. Good, I did that, and okay, I'm doing that, and it looks good. One more second. Okay, with Angela, Kathy, let's see. Shoot. Hold on there. I'm really much better than this, aren't I, guys?
Well, we're not, so don't worry.
That's good. Okay. You know, when I was doing this a lot, I was good. I was, let's see, featuring, okay, featuring. And then that should work. And I'm saving, and it looks pretty good. Noontime hangs, done. People are going to see it. They're going to come on and ta-da! Oh my gosh. Okay. So you guys, you are in New York.
Yeah.
What part of New York?
Queens, Forest
Forest
Hills.
Hills, yeah.
Where is that? I'm not familiar with that is.
Queens, it's
Oh,
well, I don't
Queens,
know.
but you said
Yeah, we're in
something.
Queens, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
Actually,
you said something else. Uh,
Forest Hills, yeah. That's the yeah. It's the
okay.
borough of Queens, I guess, and it's a
actually, I
town.
grew up in Astoria, Queens,
Mhm.
which is a couple of miles from here. Um, Me and Tony Bennett, and
Well, that's
Pat
a great,
and
yeah.
Pat Rizzo,
That's
actually.
right.
We
Oh,
all go.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Pat's from Astoria too. Yeah.
Good place to birth musicians, right?
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of
Um,
talent there.
I have lost myself. Hold on. Come on, Kath. Where am I? Well, here we are. Okay.
Okay.
I, oh my God. Hi, Taylor. Thanks for coming. Um, wow. Okay. So let me arrive here in the moment. Okay.
Recenter,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Okay. Now I'm good. My phone's off. I'm in front of the camera. Everything's working.
Excellent.
Okay. Um, so Ron, I was telling Angela that I think that you and I possibly knew each other vaguely, or at least because I really knew your name. Maybe when you were living in LA, because I've been here over 40 years. So, how long ago were you in LA, like living in LA?
Um,
4 years ago.
I guess just about 40
Yeah,
years ago,
yeah.
right before I met Angela.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh, you guys have been together a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, we've been married for 38 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
really, that is, it's
Yeah,
incredible.
and
You
the
think
years
about
just, I
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like yesterday. It's crazy.
I know. Don't blink.
But
Don't blink.
so I might have, yeah, sure, I might have bumped into you. I spent a lot of time with Pat. I also spent a lot of time with a buddy of mine, Steve Medeo. Did you know Steve?
I didn't know him well. I just knew the name. But so when I moved here in 79, 70, no, 75, and I was a waitress at Dante's for a few years. So
Oh,
I knew a lot of the straight ahead people. And so that's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking I saw you play, or we were in similar crowds, or I mean, it was a pretty cool community back then.
it's actually when I joined Lionel Hampton's band, we did some work out on the West Coast as well. So
Oh,
That's so good. Disney. Didn't you?
yeah, we
Yeah.
did. They had a week or two of at Disneyland. They were bringing all the big bands out. Buddy Rich was there, and Lionel
ah,
Hampton, Kenton's band was there.
yeah.
Um, well, this was when they were trying to, I guess, get all these bands together
Mm,
while they could. These guys were getting old,
mm,
and the big band era was kind of fading.
mm.
Um, so, which is leads me to my title of my book, the era I
Oh,
almost missed. I just caught the tail end of the big band era, and one of the gigs was that trip to Disneyland with Ham's band, and it was kind
Wow,
of great because
that's cool.
from where we were playing, we can actually hear Buddy Rich's band
Really?
on the other. Yeah, he was playing
Wow.
in another spot. So it was so yeah. So I spent a lot of time out on the West Coast, and for a period I almost moved there. I came close to moving there. Then I came back to New York. I bumped into Angela, and that was it.
Bumped into me. Okay.
We
We met.
we met,
And
and
and the angels
my,
sing.
my plans to go back to LA changed.
I wrecked everything. I mean,
I totally get it. I was going to move to New York once I got to LA, and then I met my first husband. Now here I
yeah.
am, 40 years later. But
And
yeah, I've been thinking, just I guess because I'm growing older, we're all growing older, and people are, you know, leaving the planet. And I've just been thinking about those days, and there's not a huge amount of people anymore to talk to live, who are alive about that period of time.
Yeah.
Um, there are some, of course, and you're not that old, but I mean, at least you had a foot in there. You were probably very young when you kind of got into that community. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's somehow I'm sad about it, you know.
It is. It's very saddening. And, you know, oh, especially over the past few years. I mean, it's just been like, oh, one uh, leaving, I'll call it, you know, after another, and dear friends of ours who I think, you know, passed perhaps prematurely, and I'm
Yeah.
not really sure why so many people have just decided to exit stage left on us in the
Yeah.
past 3 years. But yeah, but that's why I wanted him to write his book. You know, I mean, he's been telling me all these great stories for decades. And I personally thought that it would be a missed opportunity because he has a lot of pictures. He was always a camera buff, even when people, you know, when people didn't have cell phones and stuff like that. And he has all these amazing shots. And every time he would put something up on Facebook, people that were dear friends of his from maybe like decades ago would say, wow, I can't believe you have that picture. That's so and so, and that's me. And they were so happy to see them. So he went through all his stuff, and the pictures actually helped him, I guess, get that timeline together of all the things that he did. And that it is
Yeah,
important to document
I've
it.
always been like a camera buff. I'd have
Yeah.
a Kodak Instamatic in my case all the time. I was always taking pictures.
That's cool.
And, for whatever, who knew? You know, for me, it was just a hobby. But it was kind of nice having all those
Yeah.
pictures. You know, later when I look back, I have some great shots. One of my favorite shots is a shot that I didn't even take.
Mm.
Early on, when I joined Ham's band, it was a small band at that. It wasn't a big band. It was just 3 horns. And so there's plenty of soloing and interacting. And we did a gig on Long Island one night. And who's in the audience but Louis Armstrong?
Mm.
Louis Armstrong, the guy who started it all. I couldn't leave it. So, of course, Hamp invites him up, and he comes up onto the bandstand and jams with us. And here I am. I was a kid playing with Louis Armstrong. I was, you know, and somebody had I don't know if you remember the Polaroid Instamatic
Yeah.
cameras.
Oh my God.
One of the guests there had a Polaroid and took this picture of Ham, Louis Armstrong, and me,
Wow.
and gave me the picture, which was kind of cool. And I handed it to Louis, and he signed it. It was one of my it's one of my favorite photos. You know,
Did
But
you
it-
tell her it was your birthday also?
actually, Angie just went and got it. I'll show you.
Well,
It was on my birthday.
This is a blow up
actually,
of it, yeah. But this,
Can you see it?
I don't know.
Kinda, yeah. Is
Now,
that
this is the picture here.
The small
This
one
small
is the
one's-
Polaroid.
Yeah, and it turned and you
I have
signed
it,
it
I
on
have
the
it
back.
turned. I have
yeah.
it turned over so that you
Oh,
can
I
see.
see.
I
Oh
had it in-
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic.
One of my
amazing.
favorite shots.
Yeah.
So I was always lucky to have someone with a camera or have my own camera. you
Yeah.
know, and I have albums of great shots. you know.
Yeah. So it was it kind of gave a lot of credibility to the book when you wrote it too, you know, because you're talking about different people in different periods, and well, oh, you know, here's a shot of this band, here's a shot of that band, and I think it's nice. I think you probably appreciate it even more the older that we get, because it's like you start to it just helps you to
Yeah,
relive all those times. You
and
know?
there's a lot I miss too.
I know, yeah.
But a lot of them I was fortunate to have a camera or someone with a camera, taking pictures. So it's been kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you went out.
How long did the book take you to write?
Surprisingly fast. I mean, it was during a pandemic. We were all
Yeah.
looking to keep our sanity.
Yeah.
I had finished writing probably 25 or 20, 25 or 30 arrangements. I decided to sit down and do arrangements on all the tunes that I'd been wanting to do and didn't have time.
How
but now-
lucky was I?
Now we had all this time.
Yeah.
So I'm just keep my sanity. Let me do some writing, and so I wrote a bunch of big band arrangements, some vocals, some instrumentals.
Yeah.
And I got tired of doing that, and I said, you know what? I think maybe I'm going to, take a whack at writing this book. And I all these years, I never really like looking back. I don't think we can as artists, people that create music. We're looking for the next idea. We're going forward. And to me, looking back was never something that I enjoyed doing. So I always put it off, probably for that reason. But for some reason, I decided during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of reflecting. I said, maybe a good time. And I started writing it. To answer your question, I think I put it all together in maybe a month.
I was in shock. I know, I was in shock. I thought it was going to, and this sounds selfish of me. I was looking forward to it taking a little bit longer for him so that, it would kind of pass the time. And I saw how he really enjoyed writing the arrangements, and it distracts you because we really had no place to go. We had to kind of be in one spot. But we
were quarantined.
Yeah, we were quarantined.
We were pinned down. Actually, we had moved from Long Island to Forest Hills right before the pandemic.
Yeah, poor timing on our part. Yeah,
we rented a condo. Little did we know, we had a yard with a big deck out in the back and a swimming pool, and we had all these
and a studio.
And we left all of that and came to Forest Hills. Mainly because we were doing a lot of work in the city. Yeah. We were actually co-hosting a TV show during that period, and we were doing some work at Birdland and other clubs. And we let's move closer to the city. So we sold our house on Long Island, and we moved. We rented it. We rented a condominium in Forest Hills.
Oh, and we couldn't have done a worse.
And then the pandemic hit. Then the pandemic hit, and worse than that, a guy right down the hall from our apartment gets COVID.
Everybody had COVID.
And those early rounds of COVID, you got COVID, you died. I mean, it was bad.
Horrible. It was really horrible. We
couldn't get out of our apartment without we'd have to walk past this guy's door, which we would not do.
It was not an issue.
So we were locked in our apartment for about a month, I guess. Before we felt it was safe enough to when this guy got better.
But it was an interesting time, and the bottom line is that sometimes even the worst of times has a silver lining, and the silver lining was that we had enough music, oh my God, for probably 3 big band albums and a beautiful book that he finished. And so I guess while, it's such sadness out in the world, we were cocooned, and we managed to just keep going. I did voiceovers from the house. I have my own little studio here. So we really were able to keep ourselves busy, working, entertained. We did the best we could. And I would say that we were probably luckier than a lot of people. So I'm feeling a little bit blessed about that.
Compared to a lot of my friends who were out of jobs. I mean, the clubs were all closed. Restaurants were closed. They were scuffling.
That was a mess.
Running to teaching gigs and to pay their rents or whatever. So considering what was going on around us, we were pretty lucky. I was writing, not only writing arrangements for myself and the book, but I was writing arrangements for a client that I have out on the West Coast, a singer, and he kept me busy with it. I was writing these Nelson Riddle style charts for him, big band with strings. So that kept me busy too. So all in all, we were kind of fortunate. We were a little bit of a drag being quarantined, but we were fortunate that we were still earning some money. We're paying our bills, and that was cool.
Was there a moment in time where things started changing, opening up again after the COVID?
Let me see. You know what? We did do what we had to do as far as I'm just trying to think the timeline. We actually moved from a rental, and we had right before the pandemic hit, we decided we wanted to get our own co-op and buy something. We put our money down, and then boom, everything closed. And even though we had all our money locked up and we were supposed to be moving, they shut everything down. Nobody could move. So we ended up finally being able to close on the place that we're in now, which is a really lovely place, a really lovely co-op in Queens. But we had to move in the middle of this insanity with masks and, it was, I think I should have just shot myself and put myself in misery at the time. But we did that.
Wow.
It was crazy.
She's running it. The painters don't have masks on.
I
Tell them to put that.
I felt like I was back teaching school. It's like, you have to put the mask over your nose, okay? It's like I'm a little phobic about germs to begin with, Kathy.
Well,
That's just,
I mean, in that moment in time, yeah, because
I know.
you did
I know, but we did manage. We managed. We got our shots, our boosters, and everything. And the first thing we did, because we missed our son so very much, we we masked up, put our plastic visors on, got on a plane, and went out to LA to see our kid. I think we went to Did we go to Palm Springs or Vegas? We met someplace like in an open outdoor kind of setting, and
Palm
it was
Springs,
it was just amazing. So we did lots of things, and we were actually the first big band. And the Union was closed, local 802. The rehearsal hall was closed for years. I think until
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. So
And we were the first
first
band in
band.
there when they opened
Yeah.
their doors again after 2 years.
Yeah, so that was
We
March of
we made the
2022.
front page of the Allegro.
We're back.
Oh, that's true. It was a big event. They had photographers there and everything.
Yeah, it
Hey,
was
the
fun.
Union's open again.
Oh
So
my
we were
God,
the
that
first-
sounds fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Let's see. I have a person online. I'm just gonna. He has great questions, and I'm gonna throw in one. His name is Taylor Hatch. He's a guitarist, and he studies at UNT, and he's a very smart guy. And he said, I like this question, Taylor. Between both of you, is there a memorable gig or moment that was most influential to your developments as musicians? So that's a double question, one for each one. So
Wow, that's a great question. You mean together or apart or something? I'm
apart?
trying to.
Yeah, let's do a part.
I don't know. When I first met Ron, I guess I was doing. I had come out of school, lots of classical choral things like that, and I joined the big band because it was just something fun to do. When I left there, Ronnie started writing small group arrangements and everything. So I'm going to say that I know for me, when he used to practice and we were and I'd be listening to him practice, he'd be doing all these different patterns and everything. We'd be writing he'd be scatting on his horn and everything. And I would just start singing along with it sometimes. And I didn't even know he could hear me. I always thought his saxophone would be louder than my voice in the next room. And I remember he came out one day and he said, do that again. And then he said, I didn't know you could do that. And then he started writing scats for me.
Well, I was practicing
Yeah.
these. I was writing these sax solis,
Yeah.
and of course I was playing them. One of the ways for me to write a sax solo is I would record it into a tape recorder. I would improvise on a chord change.
Right.
And I would take my improvised solo and I would transcribe it and write it for the saxophones. But while I was doing this, I hear her singing note for note with me. I said, "Wow, that sounds cool. Do that again." And that's how we tripped over this idea of her scatting with the alto. It was such a hip sound.
And he's been writing these things for me for years now. I mean, right? Like 3 or 4 decades now.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Cleo Lane and Johnny Dankworth do stuff like that, but they were doing more classical kind of things. And I decided to do something similar, but with the music we were doing, which was bebop kind of stuff,
So Taylor, that was a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, and is there actually a song that I could possibly find on Spotify or YouTube that is that?
Yeah, look for Avalon.
Oh,
We did a live performance
at
place
the Lane Theater.
at the Lane Theater
Yeah.
in Staten Island, and they had a really nice photography crew there that really nailed the video, and we decided to put that up on YouTube. It's a few years back, but you'll get an idea of what we were doing.
Let me show you what this is, and you tell me, is this it? Is this it right here?
That one on the top, I think.
It's Avalon on
Yeah,
top.
yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
It's a
I'm
little
not going
older.
to enlarge it too big because it's
That's okay.
There's 3 homes.
Yeah. This is a little.
And
So I think I'll travel on to yeah.
Yeah. Woo!
Oh, look at that. That's got it. So I think I'll travel on. I found him. I found him. I found
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been wonderful.
Ah, you must have been excited after that, Angela. Your range is kind of perfect for that too, right? I mean,
Oh,
that's a little bit of a higher range for female singers, but you know, you're a mezzo or something, or very strong up there.
Actually, she would probably be a key or two lower now.
yeah,
You know,
because everything heads south.
her
You know.
voice dropped a little bit since those days.
Yeah, Angela, I'm curious, what was your upbringing in singing?
You know what? I just mostly just listened. We heard there was music playing all the time in our house. You know, an eclectic mix. I like to say. You know, I mean, my parents had
Well, you
Sinatra
were a music
going.
major.
Yeah,
too.
but there was always music going on, and I was always in a choir. And you know, I did go to school for music, but it was mostly classical studies. You know, but that's good because I think it helps develop your your skills, your range, and everything. It's a good background. But you realize when you get out into the real world how pretty useless that is. You know, as far I remember this is before I knew you. The first time I tried to sing with a group, um, they gave me a song and I'm like reading it and singing it just like it is in the fake book, right? And they said, can you not do that? And I said, well, I don't, what is it you want me to do? I'm singing exactly what's there because they don't, that's not something they taught you in school. They taught you to read, sing what you see, Ronnie's been trying for the past 40 years to get me not to do that. Poor guy.
Close your eyes.
Close your eyes.
Forget
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Feel your way through it.
Yeah, I
It's
remember that too. Actually, when I came out here, I tried out for this group and I was learning the part from their previous singer and I sang it exactly like the singer and I didn't get the
yeah.
gig. I was like, I
But
didn't get the gig. I don't get it, you know?
you don't get it because you did it perfectly, right? Yeah. That's actually a problem for me. I have to be careful not to even listen to other people. Like when we do a new song or something, the best thing I can do is to not listen to other people sing it because
But
it gets
you
in
know,
your head sometimes,
just
you know?
just you you always had a good swing feel to your
Thank
thing. I
you.
mean, I think the Sinatra. Her father was a big Sinatra,
Big
so she grew up
Sinatra fan.
listening to Sinatra, and I think and Judy Garland too. I know you
I
listen to her a lot.
I know, believe it, I know.
So you it wasn't all classical music,
Oh yeah, well
and
that's
you actually, when I met you, you were singing with this dance band. And I kind of dug the way you were phrasing the standards. So
thank
you
you.
had gotten rid of any of that stiff classical training that you went through.
Well, thank you. We try to brush it off after a while. But you really, I just from listening to Ron and listening to all different kinds of lovely music, you can't help but internalize that kind of stuff. I love listening to him phrase a ballad. It's my favorite thing. I mean, I love listening to you play everything. I think you're an amazing player. But to me, when everything else gets pushed off to the side, when you phrase a ballad, you do it better than anybody else. And I feel his emotions all the time. So I I wish that I could just emulate what he does, you know, when he's doing some bad
Yeah, but it
stuff.
was the introduction to people like Carmen McRae and Sarah Vaughan and Ella, which really helped you out too. I
Yeah.
I laid the real stuff on
He
her.
did. What was my favorite? I love Carmen McRae. I love, oh my God, I'm like a Sarah Vaughan devotee, you know, and I just love, love, love anything she does. Really, she's just stunning. She had some range, some beautiful range. Well, who do you love to listen to? You have any favorites? Any favorite vocalists?
Yeah, well, these days, I'm also from a musical background. My dad was a big band leader, sax player. My mother used to,
Really?
yeah, and I had twin sisters 4 years older than me who both sang and played piano. So we grew up in the whole thing. But so, there were the first people that I listened to, but strangely enough, of course, I listened to my dad's records, right? It was Rosemary Clooney, who was one of the best phrasers around,
Yeah.
Ella, and even Judy Garland, because she really
Yes.
phrased, right?
She
And
did.
then my dad was into big bands a lot, and so I grew up with that. But then, I was a child of the 70s and, you know, 60s listening to my sister's music. So the rock got in there and I went to Berkeley, but, uh, that time period was filled with all kinds of music and also groups like Weather Report and more modern stuff. So part of me really goes along that line. And these days, like uh, the people now who I like, who are alive and and well, I really love Sina E. Do you know her from
No.
Denmark?
No.
You should check her out. She grew up playing sax actually, and then she
Really?
singer. She more than anything that I love about her is she respects the music. Her name is Sinne and then EEG. And but she's got a great sound, great phrasing, great she respects the musicians and the music, and it's like the whole package. So I really love listening to Cinna. And, of course, like I saw, we're particular about our players. And, I was thinking of, because I have you guys on, I was thinking of Bob McChesney and Calabria Foti. You know them, right?
Oh,
Yeah, oh yes,
yeah.
yeah.
She's
He,
wonderful.
she's
Yeah.
a wonderful singer, and he is an amazing trombone player.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the arrangements and their records are gorgeous, really gorgeous. But, so there's a lot of singers and local singers especially. But it's funny, Carmen, I for some reason, I don't know what I was listening to, but while I was in college, I didn't like Carmen because her intonation bothered me. And so I didn't listen to her for years. And then I finally started listening again, and I was bowled over by her phrasing. Bowled
Yeah.
over, you know. I mean, every word means something to her. You know, it's just amazing. And you know how teaching for singers, especially, you always teach that you don't interrupt a sentence, you know, and you don't take a breath in the middle of a sentence. You can take a breath anywhere and it doesn't matter because she's so locked in to the image of what she's singing that you're right there with her, and it's okay if she breathes, you know. So yeah, I like singers who are real focused, who are real honest. I can't stand some of the newer singers who are just chops, you know, and it's like, yeah, drives me crazy. What do you guys listen to mostly? Do you listen or do you just work on your stuff?
Oh, I'm always listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to, and I listen to a wide variety of styles too, and genres. You know, funny thing, talking about genres. My very first album, I did an album in 1982. It was a kind of a fusion album.
Yeah.
Small group, just saxophone, trumpet, and rhythm section, and a percussionist. But all jazz guys. I had Virgil Jones, great trumpet player, James Weidman on piano, and Clint DeGannon playing drums. And it was a kind of a fusion thing, a kind of a dance thing, crossover kind of a thing. But all jazz, and I'm blowing, you know. Playing lots of solos in Virgil Jones as well. But this thing, I used the name Ronnie April for this. For what? It was a whole story I won't go into, but it was Ronnie April. So,
Well, Frank used to call you April.
yeah,
all the
so
time. Yeah.
Frank Foster did the liner notes. It's a pretty strong record for what it was, but never got off the ground, at least here. But somehow it made its way. We had to distribute it, and he must have sent a couple to Europe.
It's
Now-
a great story.
Now 20 years goes by, and I mean, I had done 4 or 5 productions after that. I considered that thing dead. I get a call from a guy. I thought it was one of my friends putting me on. Introduced himself as the owner of a record company in Spain, Barcelona, I think it was. And I said, sure, you know. He could, but what made me want, he asked me, can I speak to Ronnie April? I'm thinking the only time I used that name was for that album.
Yeah.
You know, I had to think, oh wow, yeah. So I said, okay. So we talked for a few minutes, and it turns out that he was the president of a record company in Barcelona, and he said he called all over the planet trying to find Ronnie April, and then he finally called NOLA Studios where I recorded it, and Jim Zach, the guy who owned NOLA, gave him my contact information. And basically what he wanted to do was take one of the tracks from that album and put it on a compilation CD that he was planning on releasing.
Is it Joe Santos?
But he told me the story of the album, and he said what a big dance hit it was in Spain. The discos.
Can you believe that?
And nobody knew who Ronnie April was. They referred to it as the Holy Grail. And he's.
Oh my
I had a hit over there. And
Who knew?
And three other record companies contacted me and asked for tracks. They leased tracks for their compilations, and then another guy bought my entire inventory. I think I'm the only jazz musician that sold his entire inventory. Everything I had, I sold.
Kathy, we wrapped them up in plastic, put them in boxes, and shipped them on a boat to Spain.
Well, these are vinyl CD,
No, they're-
vinyl 33s. They were and very heavy.
We have.
So I was happy to get them out of my house. Every time we moved, I would break my back lifting these cartons of these vinyl.
We have.
Now,
That's it.
make a long story short, a couple of days ago, I signed a contract with another European company. They leased this thing for a year now, and they're going to reissue it. it's like the album that never dies. You know,
I call it the
Is this,
gift that keeps on
that's-
giving.
Is that Ronnie April too?
Yeah,
That's it.
It's the same one. It's all the
Oh.
same thing. You only use that name one time. Yeah, that's it.
This is the album, and it's going to be redistributed and reissued now in the coming weeks. So I'm excited about that.
That's
So we
wonderful.
have hopes that all the albums in 40 years will do well. You know, that's how it goes.
Oh my God. That's hysterical.
This is great.
That's so cool. You know, I mean, especially because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, you know, who said the same thing. I guess it's just a manifestation of life that, you know, you love what you do, you keep doing it, and you're not really doing it for an end goal. You're doing it for the moment, and it feels good. And then after a while, something happens, you know, and it kind of gets on the wheel, you know, and so many people have told me, you know, lots and lots of stories, you know, about various things that's happened like that, and I think it's inspirational, and I think regular normal people need to hear that, you know, because I think that for whatever reason we've been kind of brought along to believe otherwise, you know, that there's a goal, you have to get it, there's competition there, you know, you do this and this, and then you reach here, and that's good, you know. And as we know, that's not what it is at all, you know. It's all about improvisation every single day.
It's also about always being true to yourself too, because we know a lot of people, and I don't fault them for it, because everybody's got to make a living, you know, but they're always trying to figure out what's hot, you know, and what's going to sell in this market and everything. And I think that ultimately, when you do that, you're not pleasing yourself. You're not ever, I'm going to say most times, you're not going to be happy with the product that you put out. And then when nothing comes of it anyway, you're going to be left with nothing that means anything to you.
So you'll be happy if it makes some money.
I said, when nothing happens. If something happens, then ignore everything I just said.
But Ronnie April is big in Europe, but I'm not Ronnie April.
I know.
You know, that reminds me of a friend of mine. This was many years ago. I even forget his name. He was a major stutterer, and but he played piano and sang, and he could sing. It was fine, but talking, it was really bad. And so he went to Europe to play, right? You know, just for gigging. And his agent over there, I can't remember all the details exactly, but basically his agent said, why don't we take this song and do it in like a dance style? And it became number one. Wow. And he made shitloads of money, and he also became the poster child for the Stutterers of America or something. It was amazing. John something, I can't remember, but what a funny story.
Kind of common, though. That's kind of common, people not stuttering when they're singing. That I've heard of many times, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting, but that's a great story, and I hope he made $1 bazillion. God,
he did. He made a lot of money. It was really good. Tell us about your new record.
Okay, got it. Well, this is the product of that's what all Ronnie's arranging did over the during COVID, during
pandemic
the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's right. We call it the pandemic album.
I'm gonna
get
a little better picture of it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hold up.
Is that going to help? No.
Go ahead. That's all right. Keep
getting a better picture of it on there.
Oh, I see. But I'm still going to get a better picture if you don't mind.
Okay. You don't have to pretend. But this is actually the second Swinging with Legends album. Was it about 25 years ago? Yeah. We went into the studio with a big band. It was an amazing production, and not only Ronnie and I think Frank Foster gave you arrangements also for a big band, and we recorded with guest artists Lou Tabakin, Frank Foster, and Lionel Hampton, Ron's old boss, and that all came about because we had done a big band album a year or two before, and we ran into Ronnie ran into Hamp at a club, and reconnected with him, and we went up to visit him at his apartment. And I guess he was basically talking to him, and he loved the album, the album he did the year before.
Let me just
Go ahead. Get it
make sure we
straight.
get it straight. We had just finished a big band album with Angela, and when I bumped into Hamp, it was at a CD release party in the city, Scott Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't seen Hamp in quite a few years, and it was just so. I was just so happy to see him. You know, I just loved working with him. I loved him. He loved me. We were very close. But you know how it is. You know, he's going one way. I'm going another. I'm trying to make ends meet, whatever. And we're busy, and you know, life kind of gets in the way sometimes. But it was so cool to see Hamp again. And he was happy to see me. I was happy to see him. He gives me his card. He says, you know, come over and blah, blah, blah. I was kind of sad that he was in a wheelchair. He had just had a stroke. He had suffered a couple of strokes. Yeah. He wasn't doing great. But his memory was still so sharp. He had a photographic memory. He reminded me of the first day I joined his band in 1969. We would I mean, it's just incredible. It was so much fun talking to him and reliving my days when I toured with the band. So we make arrangements. So I give him a call, and he invites us up to his house. And I bring the recording that we had just finished. And we sat there, listened to the whole album, and he loved it. So he says, oh, he loved Angela's voice, and of course he loves the big band. So I was half joking. I said, so Hamp, let's do another one with you. And he said, sure, man. I said, wait a second, Hamp. Would you do an album with us? He says, sure. So that was it. I went home. I started writing. The first arrangement I did was Midnight Sun. Yeah. His song. And of course I wrote Avalon, planning on him doing it, but I didn't realize that he was not up to playing those fast tempos at this stage of his career. But he did play on Midnight Sun. Yeah. And we found out the day after he called. He was all excited. He called the house the next day. He called to invite us to his 90th birthday celebration, which was going to be at Moscow, Idaho University. They have this big festival every year. That was fun. And he called to invite us there. But while we were on the phone, and he says, you got to hurry. He says, you got to call Dr. Skinner. Dr. Skinner is the guy who runs the whole jazz department over there and puts this festival together. And they were going to have every jazz musician on the planet was there for Hamp's 90th birthday celebration. And Lionel Hampton wanted Angela to be there to sing Midnight Sun because he had just recorded it with her and he just loved it. So he calls, he was all exuberant. He said, you got to call Dr. Skinner. He said, I want you to come out and sing Midnight Sun at my 90th birthday. So that was I'm trying to think of where I was going.
You were going to say, I know, because you kept asking him who else he had recorded it with.
Oh, yeah. So while we were on the phone and before we hung up, I said, I'm just curious, Hamp. I know everyone's recorded Midnight Sun. I said, did you who else did you record that with? He says, he didn't record it with any other singer.
Wow. Huh?
So I said, wait a second. Midnight Sun. I said, let me just make sure I got this right. You never recorded that with another singer. He said,
50 years.
He
50
said,
years.
He says, no. He said, but you got to call Dr. Skinner.
I know.
He didn't even care about the history. He wanted to get us on this bill for his 90th birthday.
He was not as impressed with it as we were, that I was like the first singer to sing
but when we
his song with him.
But when we hung up, I said to Angela, I said, I think you may be the only singer who sang Midnight Sun with Lionel Hampton.
Well, we
made a little history. I didn't know until the next day. I thought for sure someone else had probably sung it with him, but she's the only singer that ever sang Midnight Sun with Lionel Hampton. Yeah,
incredible.
So that was that Swing with Legends album. So that was 25 years ago, and that was all the productions I've ever done, and I've done about a dozen since. That was always my favorite. So I wanted to do something on par with that, with this new album. So we finally got to your question.
Yeah, but we needed legends, you know. We had the big band and the arrangements, right. And for the first album, of course, we had Ron's friend, genius saxophonist Lou Tabakin, who's, you know, thank goodness is still playing beautifully as ever. He's maintained a really lovely friendship through the years. So of course he was first choice, and then Ron contacted Randy Brecker
Randy Brecker and Ken
and Ken
Poplawski.
Poplawski too.
Yeah.
Those were the three legends for the new album.
But let me tell you, when we did this album, you have to hear some of these solos. They're just incredible, not just by those three legendary people. Ron's favorite thing to say is that there are legends in the making on this album, because we had some trumpet and sax solos that were just like sparkling. And I don't know, I love it.
There are a couple of young musicians who I have to mention. Todd Bayshaw, a monster alto player. He's featured on 3 different tracks on this album, and the young trumpet player Brian Davis, who sounds like Maynard Ferguson.
Yeah,
fantastic trumpet
player.
Man
never gets tired. I don't get it.
and a young drummer. He's a baby. Plays like Mel Lewis, though, man. He plays his butt off. Wow. So it's a nice mix of legends with some young, energetic, up and coming stars.
And of course, Cecilia Coleman is a pianist and an arranger in her own right, who we've worked with for decades. And oh my God, and she's originally from the West Coast.
Yeah, she is. I knew her when she was here.
Did you?
And Tim Gibbons is from out there too. He's a bass player. Him and Cecilia did a lot of work together in LA.
Yeah.
Well, but Cecilia, you have to, when you just find that perfect person for you. We've worked with so many wonderful pianists, so don't get me wrong. I mean, they're all extraordinary. But Cecilia's got that thing, as an accompanist. She's not only just an amazing soloist and a wonderful, but whenever we do anything, I cannot tell you how wonderful it is to have her there, because she seems to know if you need something. Did you get lost? Did you need a note again or something? She's always right there. I feel like she's in here and she's reading my mind all the time. We weren't able to see one another during the recording. I was in an isolation booth and the band was in the big room and she was in another booth separately so that they could kind of keep the sound from spilling over.
Yeah.
And yet all our entrances were perfect. Even on, it was just weird. It was really weird.
It's a feel thing. And,
it is a feel thing.
You've worked with her so many years.
I know.
Now. She kind of anticipates where you're going.
I know.
And you can't lose her.
No, you can't lose her. You just can't lose her. She's wonderful.
Great. That's great. Yeah, it's kind of, I know what you mean. There's amazing pianists around, but there are pianists who, especially for a singer, who are really, I don't know, there's a universe that they have that's so good. We had Tom Garvin here who was like that. Amazing. And Lou Matthews, who lived here for a long time, they were absolutely, they were old school connected, in that way. And as you say, there's a lot of great piano players, of course, and for various things. And we all like different things, that we respond to. Hey, I have another Taylor question that's cool. Is there anything that concerns you both about the direction of jazz as a whole? Even as the tradition feels like it needs to make room for new sounds, what kind of reflection do you have about where jazz is going? I like that question.
I'll leave that one to you.
You know what? I think it's going in a wonderful direction. I love everything I'm hearing. Like I said, these young guys, Todd Bayshaw and some of the other young players that are hitting the scene. I like what's going on. I like what I'm hearing. I think jazz is in good hands right now.
That's nice. I like to hear that.
I know a lot of the older guys, the young guys, they don't play like we.
Good.
No, I think I like the energy level I'm hearing. I like a lot of the inside outside style. I went through a whole period of Coltrane and Eric Dolphy. In fact, when I was with Ham's band, I had no idea why he wanted me in that band, because I was into Eric Dolphy. I wasn't a bebopper. And Coltrane. I was listening to mostly Coltrane. Most of my collection was John Coltrane and Eric Dolphy. And I was really into outside playing. I've come in a little bit, and I kind of like the combination of Jackie McLean inside outside styles and a lot of these young guys are doing just that. Todd is a great example of that. He's He plays with a lot of energy.
He is amazing.
And I hear a lot of that. I think I'm sure people will disagree with me. I'm sure some of my friends might even disagree with me, but I like it. I like where it's going. I think a lot of these young kids and they put down playing too many notes and this and that, and that's too. We all did when we were kids, but I think it's in good shape.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing. Like we talk about a couple of times, and I shouldn't get offended by this, because if people don't hear the album, they don't really know what direction it's coming from. But when they hear we've done a big band album, they always say, "Oh yeah, I really like that old music and everything," and I always go, "Oh, it's just the size of the band. It's a big band, We've got 5 saxes, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, rhythm section, and us. It's like, it's just a big band.
It's not Glenn Miller.
No, and I'm kind of, I'm getting a little cranky about it, actually. But you get it. You get it because you're in the business. You're listening all the time, and all the wonderful arrangers that are out there writing for the configuration of a big band. But it's not Glenn Miller. It's not old style music. It's contemporary. It's gorgeous chords, beautiful lines, and amazing sounds. And interestingly, we've heard quite a few different big bands in the city, and they're all different. They all come from a different direction. Each one has its own style, and I love that. And then you just find the style that you like.
I mean, you wouldn't call Wynton Marsalis a throwback.
No.
They're still very contemporary. Music is with using 12-tone harmony. I mean, they weren't doing that back in the 40s. It's a lot of people think it's a big band.
Yeah.
It's nostalgia.
Yeah, it's not nostalgia.
That's
no.
Not nostalgia. That does bother me too.
Doesn't it? Yeah, I know. But I have to, whenever anybody says that to me, the first thing I think of is they didn't listen to it. That's how, and it's okay. I mean, I don't care if you don't listen, but please don't tell everybody it's old music, and I really like that old music. It's like, oh my God.
Throwback. It's a throwback.
I'm old and the music's not old. But that's
good point. Yeah, it's really good point. Yeah. I've been going through my record collection. My husband has a very big record collection, but he wasn't a jazz fan per se. He was more rock and roll, blues, and so I have my section, which is much smaller than his. But my dad had a lot of records that I acquired, and I got records from other places that I haven't really fully listened to. So I try and listen to them a few a week to see, do I like this still or whatever. It came across a Carla Bley record that was like absolutely gorgeous. I forget the name of it. Something has a picture of a library on the front of it. And it's a smaller group, like maybe 8 pieces or 7. And then yesterday, I was listening to some big band stuff it was too old for me. It was just, I know I should like it for history's sake, but I just don't, and I'm not going to listen to it. And but then I put on a Benny Goodman record, and it was totally swinging. It was so good. He was. Everybody was playing so good. You could really, how when you first hear the sound, you're either in the beautiful, wonderful universe or not, And it was right from the beginning. It was in this great universe. But I also really love out stuff. As a matter of fact, last night, my husband and I, we were winding down watching TV. We came across the movie Naked Lunch. Have you seen that?
No, I'm going to write that down too. So we can write lots of things down.
It was a movie taken from the book of William Burroughs, who was, friends with Jack Kerouac and the whole Beat era. And the music right off was like Ornette. I mean, through the whole movie. It was such a weird movie because it's basically about him on drugs, and so really weird movie. But we watched it from the beginning to the end.
But you enjoyed the music.
The music was fantastic. There'd be like a lull, and then all of a sudden, Ornette kind of style. There was a monk tune. I forget what monk tune, but it really interesting. It was interesting to go to sleep after that, you know. I could go right to sleep for sure. Yeah, but I agree with you, Ron, as far as like the mix, you know, like the straight ahead and the out. That's what I'm really drawn to that too. And of course, everybody, you know, has their own unique thing. Do you know? Are you familiar with Vinnie Golia?
No, I'm
So
sorry,
Vinnie
I don't.
Golia is a woodwind player, and he's taught for years, and for years he's had large groups and small groups, and he's definitely in the avant-garde area. And but it's really interesting. He did a like a residency at a place that I've been booking. So he did a residency for maybe 5, 6 months, and he had a small group, trumpet and either piano or guitar, bass, drums, and himself. And
Hmm.
it was out, but it was there was something solid about it too, you know, melodic, you know, but his songs are, you know, not your standard written type of songs. But then I heard him in another avant-garde series, and he was way out, you know. It was really interesting to hear both sides of him. And his large groups, like I've seen his groups have, I don't know how many people on stage, more than a big band, you know, like really large. And then he has the instruments grouped together, and he'll kind of direct the, you know, okay, this section, and I don't know what they have written down, but it's really an interesting experience. I like that stuff too. I mean, like you, I like whatever is good, you know.
But that's the key component. You know, you could we a lot of times you go down and you listen to people play. Well, not a lot of times, but sometimes. I remember when I first started hanging, Ron would take me to these jazz clubs and everything, and I think I had a decent ear for chords and stuff like that. I just didn't really listen to a lot of jazz
I wish I
originally.
had her ears, but
Well, oh, but anyway, I wish I had your ability. But we went down to a club one night and we were listening to someone, I believe it was a saxophonist, and I really wasn't enjoying it. And I don't mean to be mean or anything. I would never say anything because I didn't know enough about it. I certainly didn't play an instrument well enough to be critiquing anybody. But when we got back in the car later on, I said to him, you know what? I really didn't I really didn't get what was happening. He says, and you said something like, "Oh, he was a rotten player." He says his play was just rotten. And I thought, thank God, because I didn't really enjoy it at all. You know? But it wasn't me. It wasn't my lack of loving jazz. It was just, now I don't have that issue because,
well, what happened? I think during the '60s, during the Coltrane, explosion, um, I think it created a haven for players who maybe didn't know enough about harmony, and they would try to emulate and play out.
Yeah.
It was a great way for these people who needed a little more studying and practicing. But so it did create a haven for a lot of bad players and players who weren't ready to be out there doing what they were doing. So that was the only, but there, it doesn't take away from that style. I mean, I love that style. And before I forget, we were talking about Lionel Hampton before, and why would he want me in his band? He was a bebop player. But I remember one time, we were in the middle of somewhere on the bus, who knows where, doing one-nighters, and Hamp comes walking to the back of the bus where I was sitting with a couple of trumpet players, and he starts noodling, but he's noodling all avant-garde stuff, and I'm thinking like he's mimicking like freestyle playing, so and then I listened for a couple of minutes, and then he looks at me and he smiles and he says, man, I love Eric Dolphy.
Aha.
Lionel Hampton, he was a big Eric Dolphy fan, and that's when I realized no wonder he wants me in this band. I was kind of like coming out of an Eric Dolphy kind of a bag, and that's the night I felt like I was finally a part of the band.
Aw.
Wow, that's really
You weren't an outsider. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Hey, I'm just curious, Ron, did you ever experience any interesting things being a white player in a band that looked at least half black, or in those days, was it weird at all?
Wow, there's a whole story about well, there's certainly a difference.
Yeah.
Uh, White bands and black bands. They're two different fields, and I was always fortunate. I played with Frank Foster's band. I was the only white guy in Frank's big band. When Frank left Basie, I helped him put his band together. We were great friends.
They were just really
And,
good friends. Yeah.
And I mean, Frank West, and it was a lot of the great plays that were with the Basie band, with Frank's band. Not only did I feel a difference in the feel, the overall feel of how the music was being played, but there was a more of a celebration kind of thing. Like, the rehearsals were fun. They were interesting. Guys would be applauding each other's solos, and a jug of sweet wine would be passed around. We're drinking wine and playing. It was a whole different feel. The things were a little more tense in the white bands, and I functioned, but I wasn't as comfortable, and most of my well, I shouldn't say most, but so many of my experiences were with black bands, Frank's band and Ham's band. I was the only white guy in Ham's band as well.
Played with Jimmy Nottingham.
Jimmy Nottingham was a very dear friend of mine, and Jimmy Buxton. So I was part of it. I was comfortable, and they were comfortable with me
Yeah.
being around. I think the style, probably because of the people that I listened to, the way I was playing, fit in with black bands. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, I certainly saw both sides, and back in the '60s, it's different now. I think bands are much more integrated now. Back in the '60s and the '50s, they weren't. Not as much anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what the question is, but yeah, there's certainly a different feel. I think the black bands kind of laid back more.
Rhythmically.
Behind, they played a little bit more relaxed behind the beat. The white guys played a little bit more in front. I played with Tito Puente's band, and that band was way in front.
Really?
Yeah, the Latin players played very much on top of the beat. So, yeah, of course, the different cultures are going to create different fields. And
I mean, well, also I was actually more asking, and that's really cool to know. But also I was asking, I guess, about the environment on gigs. Did you experience anything that was socially upsetting to you, or was it a accepted everywhere you went, and that?
Well, I got yeah, there was always a certain amount of tension. Maybe it was just in our heads. I don't know. Playing down south in a lot of those places. I'd have. I was the only, again, with Ham's band, I was the only white guy, and I remember one night after the gig, I'm sitting in the bus. We're all just chilling after the gig, and one of the patrons, nothing overly terrible, but he was big, heavy set white guy, and he said something like, "Who's the white guy in the back of the bus?" or something like that.
Maybe he was just kidding. Let's hope.
But stuff like that, it's maybe in jest, but I never experienced anything traumatic or anything that I felt threatened. I never saw anybody. I'm sure there were a lot of
I'm
things
sure
like
there
that.
were.
I can relate this story. Frank Foster told me a story when he was playing with Basie's band in the '50s, and they were playing in Las Vegas. They weren't allowed out of their dressing rooms. They weren't allowed to mingle in the casinos, you know. And that was Frank never really complained, and wasn't one of these people that was bitter or anything. But I was surprised when he told me that story. That bothered him, you know.
Yeah.
That they were there as the attraction.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let them walk around in the casinos. So I'm familiar with stories like that. I didn't experience anything like that, but
Yeah.
but I'm sure
Really,
I'm sure.
yeah, it's such an amazing time. I mean, and you know, um, I'm sure, you know, the experiences of the music and how it progressed and with everybody was kind of priceless. And maybe, you know, there was no other time in history that it would have happened like that. And then on the other side, it was so, you know, outrageously imbalanced, you know, like stuff like that. You can't come in the front door. You can't, you know, you can't
Yeah.
go out and intersperse with people. And it's just, wow, just wild, wild time in history, you know?
But you know what? I'm thinking back now, way back in 1969. Vietnam War was going on. We wore with Hamp's band. We wore tuxes, and Hamp. And people just loved him. People just loved Lionel Hampton, which is one of the reasons why I love playing with that band. The music wasn't the strongest music I ever played, but it was the connection that we always had with the audiences that was amazing. No matter where we were, you know, whether it would be down south or out west, didn't matter.
He was a consummate showman.
People just loved him.
amazing.
He worked so hard,
Yeah.
and he tried so hard to please people, which actually was to his detriment as far as being considered as one of the great vibraphonists that ever lived. And I think he was a genius as a musician. But I think probably that the commercial side of him might have messed him up a little bit with being recognized as a serious jazz musician. But he was an amazing player. I can tell you, some of those last sets in those country clubs where he would play Midnight Sun and run through those changes, and just I'd get goosebumps, you know.
All that stuff with Oscar Peterson.
But
did that stuff and stuff.
but he was and then at the end of the night he would always play God Bless America, you know. So
Yeah.
no one was going to put him down for that, you know.
I'm going to play something from your record. Oh, and by the way, that just made me think of the Duke used to play Lotus Blossom at the end of every gig because he was so enthralled with Strayhorn's song. And he just couldn't believe how great it was. So he would play it. I've heard it on the end of records, just Duke sitting down and playing through it. And it's kind of cool. But I'm going to go to Spotify and play. You mentioned Willow Weep for me.
Oh yeah.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Honest Major. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd love for you to
One
play
of my
that.
favorite cuts on the album, actually.
Of course, it's Ron's arrangement. The roll is arranged, but it's to me, it's like a tour de force. It features.
Well,
Okay,
she's gonna play.
Richard Acken.
No, Scott
Scott
Bayshore plays the song.
Todd Baker.
Todd Bayshore.
But-
You got me all mixed.
What's
We
her
haven't-
name anyway? Okay, good. I'm going to share the screen just because it'll show your your spot here, and then Willow Weep for me.
Might as well be. I'm getting. I
Whoops.
got that mixed up. I apologize.
Come on, play.
Willow, weep for me, willow, weep for me. Bend your branches green along the stream that runs to sea. Listen to my plea, hear me, willow, and weep for me. Gone, my lover's dream, lovely summer dream. Gone and left me here to weep my tears into the stream. Sad as I can be, hear me, willow, and weep for me. Whisper to the wind and say that love is sin, and left my heart a breaking, making a moan. to hide its starry light. Someone will soon be silent, crying, oh, weeping without tree, weep in sympathy. Bend your branches down along the ground and cover me. When those shadows fall, hear me, willow, weep for me. Weep for me. Willow, 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 weep for me. Willow, weep for me.
Yeah, that was Todd Bayshore.
That was,
Playing a little dirty on the end there.
Yeah, I love
it
it.
was great, and it was great tempo.
Yeah, I got that idea from Phil Woods. Phil and I were friends. In fact, I studied with Phil back in the 70s. And I always loved his version of Willow Weep for Me. So I stole some of his chord changes and his tempo, and I put into a big band arrangement.
I'm sure he'll forgive you. Yeah.
I liked it. It was great. Let's see. Yeah, people are trying to come up with names for big bands other than the word big band.
Large ensemble.
Large ensemble. That actually was one of the choices. See, Joyce, you're thinking along the right.
It is what it is, though. You know, you have to. It's just, you know, I mean, you have to understand it's just a size thing. I guess it's just, we call it the big band era, you know, which is what confuses people. That's
when
all.
you hear big band era,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
suggests a certain period.
Yeah,
Way back.
yeah, way back. Yeah.
So using big band, I guess, is still connected with that big band era.
So we should have gone with the Ron Aprea Orchestra.
Orchestra.
I know.
Ron Aprea Ensemble.
Ensemble. I like that.
When did your record come out? Your new record?
We released it officially June 18th. Yeah, but we recorded it about a year ago in October. Yeah. What a great day that was. Oh my gosh. It was one of the most fabulous days of my life, really. Recording that album was just so much fun. So much fun.
It was coming out of the pandemic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hadn't I hadn't heard a live instrument, you know, other than my own horn when I'm practicing. But I you know, we're listening on Zoom, we're playing records and whatever. There was no live music. There was no live music to be played or to be heard, and you're not going to have rehearsals with COVID, the risk of dying. So we were all starved to hear real instruments, you know, and that was part of the excitement of that session. We did have 2 rehearsals, and again, I had goosebumps listening to real music
And listening to your music
being
come
in
to
front,
life.
being in front of my friends, and hearing all this energy. It just felt so darn good.
So we recorded 14 songs in 6 hours. Can you believe that? Is that like crazy or what?
Crazy.
Yeah, well, the engineer said he's never seen anything like that.
Yeah, Costa. it was
most
so much
most of them
fun.
were like one take.
Yeah.
Some 2 takes, but we were just running right through, just having a party. It was
Yeah.
and I didn't, today studios you can fix this or fix that or whatever, overdub, and there's a lot of that going on. But I didn't want her to change anything because there was something magical going on with her and the band, the way they were bouncing off each other.
That was fun.
You can get things more perfect and miss that excitement, you know.
Well, you know that feeling. You're a vocalist, and you know the joy. There's just some nights in your life that you don't forget. There's something magical that happens, whether it's a small group, a large group. It's just a feeling you get in your heart that all the stars are lined up that day, you know, and you did nothing bad is going to happen. And that was kind of the day that we had. I always tell people, always say to me, how does it feel to sing with a big band? And I always liken it to like hopping on a wave. It's like you don't fight anything, you know, you see that wave coming, you're going to jump on and just let it carry you in, you know. That was the sensation that day. Everything was, it was just so exhilarating. And I never enjoyed singing probably as much as that. I've had wonderful, wonderful experiences, but that was probably one of my favorite days singing in my life. And yeah.
I also have to give the engineer a lot of credit. I never saw, I've done a lot of these things. I never saw anybody put a mic on every instrument, every horn.
Yeah.
You know, the 8 brass, five saxophones, was that 13 microphones just on the horns.
Yeah.
He had everybody on their own mic, and all really good microphones too.
Costa Concha, Mozart Studio, Little Falls, New Jersey. We'll give him a shout out.
And then even had an overhead to get the overall.
The ambience of the whole group.
This guy's a great engineer, great studio, and I was impressed with how he had everything mic'd, and of course had the boots. It was a wonderful experience. But I'm sitting there with my headphones on, listening to all this music. I'm thinking, wow, this is beyond my expectations.
And unlike a real live performance, I could actually hear myself sing. And it was really nice. Usually, I don't care where we are, how expensive or big a club it is. You get on stage, the band starts playing, and it's over. I don't know what the problem is, that they can't put a monitor on you or figure it out. You know, I love when people always say to the band, "You got to be quiet. You got to bring the sound down." I'm thinking, no, there's 16 of them. You have to bring me up, or let me hear myself in the monitor. But it was perfect. It was so it can't be done. It was perfect. I heard everything. I heard every instrument, every part. And I heard myself, and it was just because you need to hear yourself, right, to be able to sing in tune and to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's like you're walking around with a blindfold on. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. So good day. Yeah.
I'm sure everybody was like, frothing at the mouth, wanting to play too, right? Coming out of the pandemic. So it probably added to everybody's, just getting on the road, on the wave,
I think you're right. It felt like, when the horses are just like they're ready to break out of the gate. And that's how I felt. It's just like everybody played with that kind of joy and enthusiasm. It was so exciting.
It was years. I mean, 3-4 years. And, I expected it to be a real up atmosphere, but it was beyond my expectations. I was really it was an amazing day. I know I've done projects. Sometimes it takes a week just to get all the tracking down, or 2 weeks or a month. This was done in 6 hours.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it really was.
Big band, 14.
A large ensemble.
Large
ensemble. I don't know if people don't even have not been experienced in this, they might not even vaguely understand how impressive that is.
Yeah. It's so many things. There are just so many parts that can go wrong, and when they don't go wrong, it's nothing short of a miracle. I mean, they're all wonderful musicians, but
even the musicians were like scratching their heads.
Yeah.
You believe we did 14?
Yeah.
14
and we
tracks
stopped for pizza.
In 6 hours. Yeah, we had a pizza break. What the heck was in that pizza?
God. Oh my God.
We had a great day. But you know what? When it's a live gig, the thing about it is when it's a live gig and you've got 14 songs, you always expect there to be little things going wrong and everything, but it's okay because it's you're in the moment and it's a live performance. But you expect more from a recording because it's forever. You can't leave anything broken, or hanging, because you're going to hear. That'll be the one note, the one wrong thing that is there will be the one note that you hear every time.
Yeah, it'll bother you every time.
Exactly.
You
So the fact that there wasn't that much to, every once in a while we'd have to maybe, do something, but for the most part it was just all as is, and it was great.
What's next for you guys?
Oh, geez. Who knows?
Good question.
We're going to be at Birdland on the 28th
of January.
January.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're going to be doing a 1-hour show. We'll be playing probably most of the 14 tracks we'll be doing.
Yeah.
It's an hour show. and and we're trying to sell our big band. That's a hard sell. So,
But
what's
we just want to
going
sell
on?
ourselves. That's basically it. We
Where do
love.
you, God, I can't even imagine it. I have, I mean, I know what it takes to shop small groups to places. Where do you shop a big band?
There aren't too many rooms,
Mm.
really. I mean, there are some rooms in town,
Mhm.
and this is all still developing yet.
Mhm.
So we'll have a better idea in a few weeks from now. What the itinerary is going to look like. Um, but we're doing small group gigs too. As that clip you saw, we can work with just a quartet, quintet, or sextet.
Mhm.
I have a book for like 3 horns, 2 horns, and just me in the rhythm section and
Yeah.
Angela.
Yeah.
So we even did a. I remember when that first Legends album came out, we did about a year in a club on Long Island called Grasso's. We did a Friday night there with no drums, just bass, piano, and
Yeah, that
Angela
was
and I. It was interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
It felt a little funny, the first night, but I started getting used to it. I actually started digging it.
Wow. Did you say
Yeah.
bass and drums and you?
Yeah. No, bass and piano, no drums.
Bass and
For
piano.
that particular
It was
gig,
the only
yeah.
only gig I ever worked with, without a drummer, and I kind of got used to it. We swung in a different kind of a way. It was good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you
it
mean.
don't
I do
matter.
a lot of small group things, piano
Mhm. Mhm.
duos, and I have one group that's quite beautiful. Josh Nelson on piano and Larry Coons on guitar, and the three of us just have a magic together. We put out a record called Dreamsville, and when we work, we're in heaven. It's just
Aw.
it's a beautiful relationship. We have a universe, that's really lovely.
Well,
Guitar and piano. That's great.
I
That's
was going to
amazing.
say Sheila Jordan works with just the bass player very often.
Yeah,
She sounds great. She's come
she
out
Good.
does.
here and worked. If you if you guys come out sometime and do a gig, um, yeah, I mean, it would be really fun. I have a friend who has a really beautiful home venue. He's a musician. He and I used to do, casuals years and years and years ago, and then he got into he bought this company that made a product that protected machines from heat, and he did really, really well. Never got
Mhm.
married, so it was all his money. He bought a house in a kind of a up like an area that was kind of lower income, but then
Mhm.
came up over the years. So he
Mhm.
kept building on, and now he has on the bottom floor, he has this listening room that holds 70 people, and there's
Listen.
the area of playing is amazing. There's a 9-foot German piano. He has a whole back line. He even has a B3 in there, and he has a bar. And so we've been doing concerts there for a number of years. He started off with classical concerts, but then moved into jazz, and yeah,
Right.
we do a whole bunch of. And he used to have a rehearsal band every Tuesday for 20 years, and
Wow.
people just came all the time to just sit and listen. And yeah, so it's a really nice home venue, and it's near downtown, and a lot of people know about it, and you'll get a kick out of this. Okay, so we say it's hard to find, and the joke is his last name is Goldman, but the joke is it's called the G spot.
Oh, it's not hard to remember.
No, he's funny. You'd
I'm not
love
going
him.
to forget it.
He's a great hang, great hang.
So
So
much fun.
yeah, but yeah, so we'll have to do something like that when you come out.
I was going to say, I wish we had spoken to you 2 weeks ago because we were just
Us,
down
listen,
in.
all
Yeah.
you booking agents out on
Yeah,
the
right.
West Coast,
Yeah, we're available. Yeah.
God,
call us.
I have, yeah, strangely, I have become kind of I'm not really a booking agent. I really am not. Listen to me out there. I am not a booking agent, but I do set up stuff. I end up starting venues or helping venues, which I'm doing right now, a place called Kulak's Woodshed.
All
But
right.
it just, it just happens that I don't know, I just fall into these things, and I'm just kind of bent like that. I like to create
You're a
stuff.
matchmaker. You're a musical
That's what it
matchmaker.
is. I'm a musical matchmaker. Yeah. So, there's not a lot of booking people here. There's some Brazilian booking people who do things, and um, there really is not a lot of booking people here. And so you have to create your own thing. That's
Yeah.
like, what I always said, being from Boston originally, I still have kind of an East Coast feel, but
I didn't hear that until just
Yeah, you
now.
said
When you said
Boston.
Boston, I said, oh,
Yeah,
yeah. You
been
let
a,
it
it's
slip.
been a little while though. I was 21 when I left, but I always thought after I lived here for a while and started working, I thought, okay, so the difference between the coasts is the West Coast, you have to build things. And on the East Coast, there's a big wheel turning and you have to jump on the wheel. And that's
Yeah.
really a
Yeah, yeah.
different feel. And that's really what people have to do here. They have to build stuff. It's not, there's not a lot of wheel turning that you jump on. But
Yeah.
New York, of course, in the East Coast, it's just there's so much action happening, you know, and the energy level is really different. So
Yeah.
LA's turned out to be really interesting place over the years, and like presently, I mean, there's an embarrassment of riches of musicians here. I mean, brilliant musicians, and
Mm.
clubs. There's interesting clubs that have popped up.
Mhm.
Of course, we've lost a few over the pandemic, but um, interesting clubs pop up. Some newer, smaller joints, that a lot of the young people who are very talented are playing a lot at. So there's a lot of music happening. It's a lot of good music. I mean, you could go out almost every night of the week and see something really good. Yeah.
Are you friends with Terry Gibbs by any chance?
Acquaintances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
He's a riot.
Terry's a very dear friend.
He is a
I,
riot.
yeah, my birthday was October 24th, and we were out, and I get home and there's a message on my answering machine, and I hit the button, and it's Terry singing "Happy Birthday" to me.
And they're
Now
very,
Terry
very
Terry
talented.
is 99 years old.
I was gonna say, yeah,
He's
99.
99,
Oh,
and he's still so sharp. In fact, he does a show every Saturday.
yeah.
He has people
Call in
on the internet,
on
on his
Facebook.
Facebook, people calling asking. He talks about his
He
career.
does. I didn't know that. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
wow,
every Saturday, check it out.
Terry.
He's got some.
I
Okay.
think
Every
it goes on.
Saturday.
I mean, he's a walking history book.
He really is.
He's
He wrote
worked.
a book,
He's
yeah.
worked with everybody. And Charlie Parker. Come
Yeah.
on.
And he
Uh,
remembers everything so clearly, which I find amazing. Because not even thinking about his age, it's just that most people don't, recall things that accurately. You have a very good memory for your gigs and stuff, and he does too.
Let's
And
see if
I'm
I can
always.
find his happy birthday wish.
I should interview him. I don't know why that hasn't come up before, but
Well,
by,
yeah,
by the way, you guys are on day 559.
559
Yes.
interviews.
Yes.
Wow,
I started.
Well,
that's impressive.
You want to hear Terry
Wait.
Gibbs singing?
Wait, it's just okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah.
I don't care if you're home or not. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Roddy baby. Happy birthday to you. Good evening, friends.
Can you
You
imagine
gotta love him, right?
a 99-year-old jazz icon singing "Happy Birthday" to me?
I know.
I cherish that recording.
That is adorable, man.
And now we're show number 559. You said
559.
559.
Yes,
Okay.
the day that COVID went or the pandemic went in, I
Mhm.
got I felt weird. It was like, oh my God, now what am I going to do? Because a lot of the things that I do involve community. And
Mhm.
so I thought, well, I'll just get on Facebook and talk and see if anyone wants to join me. And as a matter of fact, Sina E was on. And I said, oh, Sina, why don't you come on and be my guest? Now, I didn't have this sophisticated setup at the time. I had I had my iPad set up and she was on the iPad. So anyway, it took me a few months to get that together, but I started right from that day. I started 2-hour shows, 6 days a week for 9 months,
Wow.
and then I went down to three live days with posting the archives. And recently, I just got I got really lazy. Sorry, audience. And I've actually stopped posting an archive every single day, which I was doing. But the archives are really easy to get to. And then with just several live guests, usually now, right now, it's been several live guests a month. And I don't put myself under any pressure because it's just, you know, it's great. And when it's supposed to happen, it happens. But yeah, 559. That's today.
That's very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's
really
pretty
very cool. But
great.
yeah, I think it's really nice that that how many things got started over the internet. We have there were a couple of really wonderful musicians that we hadn't heard of before that were kind enough to just get on Zoom or Facebook and do some show, not even shows, but like play and sing and stuff. And they
Yeah.
really kept people entertained, and we started enjoying visiting with them. Like we looked forward to it because
Some careers were made
I
during
think
the
so. I know
pandemic.
what you're going to say. Yeah, it's just some really wonderful musicians that maybe we wouldn't have heard of had it not been that we were all just sitting around,
I'm with you.
looking for something to listen to. So
I
I
agree with
think, yeah, you probably made a lot of people happy. You
Yeah.
kept them entertained, and you also introduced them to a lot of people that they wouldn't have heard about
I
before.
agree
So
with
it's
you. I think it was great. I talked to people all over the world. Flora Purim contacted me and asked me if she could be on the show. Diane
really,
Sure contacted me. I mean,
really,
yeah, interesting people. I was like, sure, I'd love to talk with Flora Purim. And
Beatles.
yeah, and Deedles, yeah. And yeah, and but yeah, it gave me it's this is kind of a daw thing, a daw moment, but it really gave me a very strong point of view that we creative people, especially us, really balance out the planet without first of all, there's a lot of it going on the planet,
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of it. And we are literally balancing out the planet. Otherwise, I think the planet would have blown up, because
Yeah, I
from the
agree.
crazy people, But I was very, I was very impressed over the years as it would go on and everybody basically talks about the same perspective. However, because we're individuals and we've had different lives, we have different takes on the perspectives and, different experiences. But still, we're all human. We all are built the same way. So that to me was inspirational too. It was, you felt like a community, planetary community, not just, because really depression mostly comes from feeling alone, right?
that's right.
And so um, those kind of things, I just really have enjoyed doing this show. That has made me feel really, really good. You know,
You probably kept a lot of people sane too, because without when you're creative and you lose the venue, to just get your music or your thoughts or whatever out there, you feel like you're drying up.
yeah,
So that you were able to kind of showcase people, their lives, their talents, and everything must have been a really wonderful feeling for you and for them. Absolutely, for the people that you interviewed.
yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask you guys both a question that I've been thinking of lately. I guess again, going back to our earlier conversation, people are passing away, and so you start thinking of life in a different way. And I don't know if I'm having a midlife crisis and I guess 70 is the new 40. So am I in the midlife? I don't know. But anyway,
Sure.
yeah, I've been thinking about why I do what I do, you know, not just singing, but everything. Why do I do what I do? And what do I want to do? And which I actually believe is a good thing that came out of the pandemic. I think a lot of people went through that, they were thrown out of their jobs or whatever, and they got a chance to think about it. It's like, oh, I don't like this 8 to 5 job. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so this is a question to each one of you. Do you know why you're doing all the things you do, and what do you want to do from now on? Do you know, or are you just leaving it to improvisation? Or
Well, in my case, I mean, there was never a minute of my life where I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do.
really?
Yeah, absolutely. Music has always been, you know, Jesus, hard to explain, but yeah, it's always been. I think sometimes some of us are just born with certain things,
Yeah.
But I would early on. I wrote about this in my book. I was probably preschool, and in them days, the Paramount Theater and the Roxy Theater and some of the big theaters in Manhattan had stage shows between the movies, and my mother would take me to these. My mother loved music and entertainment,
Yeah.
so she would take me to see these. I would see Louis Prima's band up on a stage. I was probably 5 years old, 4 years old, and I still remember the excitement I felt, and then there are other things too that help you realize that this is what you want to do. We lived right next to a Baptist church, and on Sundays in the summertime, the back door would be open and our windows would be open, and the gospel music would come right into my kitchen.
Wow.
So yeah, and of course my mother was a really really good singer. She never sang professionally, but she would sing doing her housework and play Sinatra records and Perry Como and all, so I was in the middle of music all the time, and most people in my family had good singing voices, and I think I might have been the first musician, but I was surrounded with music, but it was the feeling. It was the goose. I have brothers and sisters that didn't pursue music. Something was happening that I had to pursue. And so there was never any doubt in my mind what I want to do or what I want to do tomorrow or the rest of my life.
Nice.
How about you?
I guess, well, I think we had similar upbringings in this respect because, the stereo or the radio was on all the time. My father worked a lot of different jobs and everything, but he would always be this was his way of relaxing. Pillow on the ground, on the floor, in the living room, and Sinatra playing. You'd hear the Mills Brothers, you'd hear all these amazing singers, and he was a big Judy Garland fan too, and I loved it. And it's just I call it, the background music of your life all the time. It's always there. You grow up and you love to sing. You're always in choirs and doing it. It's the thing that brings you joy. You take detours every now and then, not even detours, but like you say, you have to make a living. You have to do different things, and other stuff runs in and out of your life, but you always come back to the music. So we were talking about it the other day because it's so hard. Like you said, it's so hard to book a big band, but as much as I love singing his arrangements and doing this, what I really loved the most, and I always thought was the most fun, was just the thing that we do together when we do the scats together. And there's really There's nothing else like it because we live together. We breathe together. On these gigs, when we used to do a lot of this music, prior to the pandemic, when we were doing the small group gigs together, it was my joy because my fun is matching him or just knowing, and he's so perfect about everything. And there's just a feeling you get from performing with one another that is, to me, really the most amazing experience. It's just
So you think you might want to continue with this career?
yeah, I think I'm gonna give it up. We'll see, but we both like a lot of different things. He's a great artist and
Yeah, maybe
great ball player.
We'll try for another week or two.
Another week, yeah. We have a lot of different interests, but the music's always there. Has to be.
Cool.
And if you get annoyed with it and you try to push it off to the side for a while, it's like, that annoying child,
Oh,
that keeps
it'll show up in your dreams and drive you crazy. I tried stopping a couple of times and I had nightmares.
Yeah, it's like trying to quit cigarette smoking or something. It's an addiction, but a good one. It keeps
I
you
have
young.
a question from Anthony for you, Angela. Are there any places that you have not performed that you look forward to in the future?
Well, sure. There's a million places. Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of big clubs that I'd love to be in, but you know what? I'm equally happy performing in those smaller venues with an audience that listens. That's the joy of it when you get that connection with the audience, and when you're up close and personal with everybody, and they're looking at you, you see their faces smiling while you're singing, or they're really getting into the lyric or what you're doing. So,
But what specific venue? Well, yeah,
I was
like Carnegie Hall,
all right, Carnegie Hall's nice, sure.
City Field,
Well, I thought Yankee Stadium
Yankee
might have been.
Stadium.
Yeah, I would like to. You know what? That's something. Darn, they have not asked me to sing the national anthem anywhere lately. I don't know. It's a great question, but there's so many. There's clubs out on the West Coast. There's lots of beautiful places in the city that we would love to perform at. And
Actually, Europe too.
oh my gosh,
we spent a little time in Rome.
All right. Okay. Yes, Anthony. In Rome. I want every club in Rome. How's that?
Yeah, we had a good time over there, and there's a jazz scene happening in Rome that's kind of cool, and of course the festivals. We love doing festivals.
Yeah, we did festival in France. I guess years ago, and that was an experience. Such an experience.
So festivals are fun. Those are the kind of venues I look forward to doing, and jazz clubs are cool, because of the intimacy of everything. You can really be a little more creative than you might be at a huge festival or something. But they're all fun. It's just music is music, and being around good musicians and just enthusiastic people, it hardly matters what the venue is, really.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes a small club can be just as really just as satisfying as playing in front of tens of thousands of people. We did that thing out in Moscow, Idaho at that time. And, did this ever happen? This ever happen to you? I'd been singing for decades and I was fine. I had lost that nervousness and everything. Yeah. And I thought I was fine. We had practiced, we had rehearsed with Hamp's band in the afternoon. I was totally comfortable, and Ron and I were going to be doing stuff together. I get out there and I've got my heels on and my gown and everything. And there were so many people out there. If I tell you that my legs all of a sudden started shaking of their own accord. My head did not know I was nervous.
Her first stage fright.
But my head was not into the fright. My legs apparently had their own thing going. And I'm thinking, oh my God, am I going to go down here? They were just like this. I can't stand on these heels, but got through it. And I think that was interesting, Didn't happen the second time, but I never had that happen. That hadn't happened since I was like in grade school, when you get your first solo and so you think you're just going to fall off the stage. The risers, mostly.
Man. There might, a little piece of information went in, and flip the switch, you know. That's really
Flip the switch. There you go. Actually, we were playing with the Kenny Barron Trio.
Yeah.
Was
Oh.
quite
wow.
quite a
That was
concert. Actually, you got a standing ovation, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't
A
notice
little
though.
nervous.
And I thank you for telling me. I was just so happy I was still vertical by the end of this.
Hey,
But that hasn't happened before.
yeah, that's hopefully it won't happen again. Ron, where can we get your book?
Oh,
Oh, on my website, ronaprea.com. RONAPREA.com.
yeah.
There it is.
Great.
And
I
signs them
love
too.
the title, by the way. The title's great.
Isn't it?
It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's an era that I almost missed.
Yeah.
You know, I was born at that period when, you know, swing music and swing dancing was the thing, and that's what I fell in love with. By the time I was ready to get into the business, you know, it was coming to an
deserted
end.
you.
You know, so,
I know.
oh no, you can't leave me now. So, but I got to play with a lot of great bands, and I wrote about some of the craziness that goes on, and some of the good things that go on too. But the
Les Elgard's. You have to. Okay, you know you're going to have the book now, because great stories about his Les Elgard experience, and he was with Woody Herman for a while, and just really nice things, and he's got such interesting
even
stories.
I crossed over genres, and I did an album with John Lennon.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
that I talk about.
Wow.
And my
It's on the
experience
Walls
with
and
John,
Bridges,
and my relationship that continues to this day with May Pang.
Mm.
You know, was John's lady back in 1974.
Mm.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a good
Sounds
read.
great.
I know Scott now liked it. He gave me a great review.
Oh, you
Thank
did?
you.
I gotta tell you, I was thrilled to death. I never wrote a book. I never thought anybody'd be interested in anything I ever did, you know, except Angela. She loved all these things. But when Scott, you know, gave me this wonderful review, I'm thinking, holy smokes, somebody besides Angela likes my life, you know.
I think it's very, you know, it's a great read, because there are very few people who have his perspective of, you know, of the music business, or who have, you know, relics, I guess I call them, you know, photos and different kinds of things from that particular period. They're not around to tell that anymore.
Right,
And
right.
not only has he got all that information and everything, but you have a really nice story, a way of telling a story too. I always appreciated that. So yeah, it's, you know, humorous, very real. It's a good read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great. Well, it's just about 2 o'clock, and thanks so much, you guys, for being on. And it's been really nice to get to know you. Very, very nice. You're both beautiful people, and obviously quality-minded. And I'm going to ask you one question before you go, just for the hell of it.
Okay.
For each of you, what I know there's a lot of records, but just pick one. What record in jazz would you say is underrated and should get more attention?
I'll always say something by Sarah Vaughan, and the record that I love, names just go. Go, you are. I'm going to see if I can think of it.
That's a good question. I really got to think about that.
Yeah.
Underrated. That's-
She did an album with Poor Butterfly.
Almost
and
every jazz album is underrated.
It's underrated.
you know?
Yeah. But yeah.
But somebody that's like a great musician or singer that didn't get the recognition or doesn't get the recognition.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough.
Well, how about changing it to what's one of your desert island records?
Oh no, not just one.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one. Yeah. I mean, you know,
just
obviously
listen
we all have some.
over and over again.
You know, it is an album that one of my first jazz albums, Charlie Mariano. You know what? I think that answers your question, your first question. I think Charlie Mariano was probably least recognized great jazz saxophone player. I loved
Yeah.
Charlie Mariano's playing. I
Yeah.
have an album that he did with Don Sebesky arrangements, big band.
Oh.
I almost would I reckon out. I still listen to it.
Yeah, oh, it's gorgeous.
I just love Charlie Mariano.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm friends with both his daughters.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never
Oh,
knew
wow.
him.
Oh,
I
wow.
wish.
Yeah, he was at Berkeley when I was there.
Really?
Yeah, I know he was
I mean, he
teaching.
was
That's
teaching
great.
there. Yeah, I was
Yeah, okay.
a student, but he was teaching and playing in Boston.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Charlie.
I think probably he might be one of the more underrated jazz saxophone players. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm thinking now, you've got me thinking. It's my the one that I loved. Jeez, what is going on with me today? Well, first of all, I love Nancy Wilson, and while that she has that whole album, ballads, blues, and stuff, her ballad singing just kills me.
Yeah.
Absolutely slays me. And that would probably be something that I could listen to over and over and over again, or anything Sarah Vaughan. Album titles elude me at the moment, so I'm sorry, Kathy, but I'll send you my list.
Well,
Well, what's your favorite album?
Well, as singers, of course, we have our favorite, especially the
Yeah.
old stuff like Bill Evans and Tony Bennett, and I mean, I probably could listen to that over and over. The first one that they did together, you know that record, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one Some Other Time is on, and I mean that's a classically gorgeous record. The first one, especially, that they did, because they did two, and then Coltrane and Johnny Hartman.
Oh
Probably
yeah.
could listen to that forever. But then I don't know. There's certain Miles things. I was a big Miles fan growing up, and especially in this one period, this very cool, beautiful period, and some things of more modern players, either Paul Motion or or Weather Report or Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch. I could probably listen to that forever. you know, it's very eclectic, but yeah, it's interesting to think about things that we could listen to over and over again. And I think that it's because they're so in the now. They're so performing in the moment, and there's something delicious about that.
That's exactly it. You somehow get the sensation they managed to convey what they were feeling at the moment they were recording, which is a real gift, that an artist gives. And I mean that's why I love these live concerts at times. They're not perfect, but you feel what the artist is feeling as he or she is just like absorbing all the joy from the audience and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a tangible thing. You can, it's amazing how you can actually hear it while you're listening to a recording of a live
It is
concert.
great. My friend Roland says Blue Bash, Kenny Burrell, and Johnny Smith. Okay, Roland. I don't know that
We
record,
should make
but
a big list. Yeah, we have to make a list.
Kenny Burrell owes me a favor.
He does. That's right. Yeah.
I lent him an arrangement. Kenny Burrell was in New York. He was invited to play with the Basie band. Who's going to be featured at the Blue Note, and he didn't have an arrangement. And Don Sickler, do you know who Don Sickler is? Trumpet player, Second Floor Music.
yes.
And Don is a very, very dear friend of ours. And so Don calls me up and he says, Ron, he says Kenny needs an arrangement. He's playing with the Basie band, Blue Note. I think it was the next night or whatever. And so I had a rehearsal, and he came up to my rehearsal, and I played a few vocal arrangements that he can play the vocal part on guitar, and he picked one. It wasn't even my arrangement. It was a Frank Boss arrangement, and I bailed him out, and it sounded great. So he invited us. He invited us down to the club, and we went down, and he made us get up and take a bow. I said, "But you owe me a favor, man."
That's so funny. That's so funny, man. Yeah, Don, I mean, I don't really know Don, but I've kind of been attached to him a little bit because last year I produced Paul Chambers' son, Pierre Chambers. He's a really good singer, very naturally, just got it inside of him. And Don, I think, manages Chambers publishing and stuff. So
the second for
I was
music.
kind of connected with him a little bit. But so anyway, let's see. Have a good holiday.
Thank you. You too.
For those of you people listening in LA, I have a sorry, wrong pipe.
Right?
I have a gig coming up Wednesday with three guitar players, me and 3 guitar players at Kulex Woodshed. So come out and hear live music. And then I just wanted to mention next week I'm at Casey's in Tarzana, the 14th, and I have a Scat Lab next week, and also the jazz fundraiser at Kulex Woodshed is on December 16th. And you guys just have a really beautiful holiday season. Thank you for your time, and great to hang with you.
You too. We really enjoyed it. The fastest 2 hours ever. Seriously.
Fast, doesn't it?
It really did. It really did. All right. Well, good luck with your stuff. And listen, we'll hang next time and get your booking agent cap on, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye
talking
now.
to you.